We're standing behind the 2025 Hyundai IONIQ 5 that has two awesome changes that you guys might have wanted. I think you did. One of them, the rear windshield wiper. What? Amazing. But also, this is the first non-Tesla to have a built-in NACS port. Amazing. Awesome. We're going to check it out now. This video is sponsored by EV Vita, creators of mods and accessories for all EVs and exclusive resellers of best EV mod accessories with direct customer support.
With EV Vita, it doesn't just end when you get their products. They have lots of tutorials. They're very quick to answer questions. We have their products in our Mach-E and our Equinox, and we're really proud to have them as a sponsor. So yes, it does have a NACS port, but if you still want to use CCS or J1772, they're giving you both of these adapters. They fit in the small front trunk or frunk in the IONIQ 5, but really nice to see the options. And this is one of the first, as we were saying, that has the NACS port here. Let me go ahead and close that back up. But there are some other changes that are in the 2025 IONIQ 5. First of all, the batteries are slightly bigger, both the standard and the extended range, so you get a little bit more range out of it. But there are some other neat little things that I think make a big difference with the 2025 on the inside. So let's take a look at that very quickly.
There are two gripes that we had with the previous version of the IONIQ 5, and they have updated them now. Get rid of these cables, it doesn't matter. They have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Before, we had a long cable coming across here so that our phone could be here. Also, instead of the side-by-side cup holders, you guys know, maybe you don't know, I really love side-by-side. We switched that out so we have the wireless charger right here. I don't know what your preference is, but I love the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. They've updated all of this over here, so really prioritize buttons. They've also added buttons over here, so some stuff that you really use often. Another thing that we did not like in the previous Hyundai IONIQ 5 was that the this instrument cluster, the screens, the dual 12.3-inch side-by-side screens were trimmed by white, so it looked kind of old school. Now this looks way better, trimmed by black. And then we have updates on the steering wheel as well. 3-spoke instead of 2 and updated buttons.
Here's the mini frunk that I was talking about. Definitely can't really store luggage, but perfect spot for storing those adapters. Maybe a charging cable if you needed that, but anyways, small frunk, but there you go.
Last time we were in this position, we were in a Disney Hyundai IONIQ 5. Now we're in the 2025 Hyundai IONIQ 5. A lot is the same. Pretty much all of it is the same, right? It's just not quite as magical, but it's still magical.
Don't tell Hyundai that. Yeah. there are differences that we have been going over, but driving feels the same.
It really does. And if you watched our video with the Disney Hyundai IONIQ 5 as all of our camera gear rattles and whatever, then you might know that I really love this vehicle. This is a great vehicle, and it in a lot of ways, but especially for me as an amputee, I'm a right leg amputee, so I cross my left leg over to drive with my left leg, and the IONIQ 5 is really, really spacious over here in the cabin. There's a ton of room, so that's not something that I have to worry about. Like some vehicles, you have the transmission tunnel if it was like taken from an ICE space or whatever. But the IONIQ 5 is designed EV first. It's super spacious. It's really, really comfortable. So for me as an amputee, I have a ton of room. That's a really rare situation. But if that applies to you in any way, let us know. If you're an amputee and that applies to you, let us know. But if you know us as well, I prefer 2-pedal driving. Patrick prefers 1 pedal. And by default, the IONIQ 5 sort of starts out as
every time you turn it on, it starts in 2-pedal mode.
Yeah.
Which I don't like at all, but
I love it. I know. And like, I'm sure a lot of you are not happy about that because, well, it would be nice if you could just set what your preference is and stick
Leave it
with
at
that.
Yeah.
But obviously, selfishly, I like that a lot. Now, you do have the paddles on either side of the steering wheel if you want to adjust that. I do wish there was a way for you guys to set it and leave it.
Profile, like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's ideally is like you would have your profile, I'd have mine, and mine would be regen, yours would be not.
Yeah, absolutely. And now this new model, I'm not sure about the previous model, but I know this has phone as a key. So
Well, the
they're
other one had
blue
phone as a
link.
key, but it was
Yeah.
NFC, so you literally basically almost had to touch your phone,
But
get
this
it out of your
one,
pocket.
and this one recognizes you as you walk up to the vehicle. So it would be really cool if it was like, hey, it's Liv.
Yeah.
Set her drive mode, and hey, it's Patrick, set yours.
And that's a minor change, sort of, but it's actually a big change in the overall use of phone as a key, or they're calling it digital key. I forget what the brand name is, but
Blue link, I think.
I'm not sure. But basically, who cares? It's like you walk up, you can keep your phone in your pocket. Because like even apparently like with the old one, it works on your watch, but you had to like touch it or almost touch it. Now it's like it just senses it. So it's a lot more intuitive, a lot smarter, and just a better user experience. And speaking of that, we'll just go ahead and mention this as well. We mentioned it somewhere else, but the CarPlay Android Auto is now wireless, which was a
awesome.
huge annoyance of mine. And mostly, and let me just show you this real quick before. I do have my phone plugged in. That's mostly for battery issues right now of my phone. But before, it was like you had to plug in there for CarPlay or Android Auto. And it was just sort of like you
had the cable hanging across. Yeah.
Actually, I think it was, I don't know. Yeah. I forget what it was before, but you had to plug in. Now you don't.
Well, and this section was different.
Yeah, we'll go over these details, or maybe you already have.
Yeah, we're like not sure what order we're doing all this, but as far as it drives, it's really, really comfortable for me. The pedal feel is really good. The accelerator is really responsive. I sort of feel like the brake takes a second. Do you know what I mean?
It's been a while since I've driven it. Yeah, I need to go drive it. So
yeah, you do. You guys don't know this, but it's been a really, really soggy time down here in Palm Springs, which is where we're doing this media drive. And there's a rainbow right now. So we traded the soggy day for sunny and gorgeous rainbow. How cool is that?
I'm going to zoom in on it. There we go.
You got it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
It looks really nice. And this is just bonus.
Bonus rainbow footage.
We're adding that in just because. Before we get to some fun mountainy roads, we're on a little bit of a highway-ish. So I got on the Highway Drive Assist 2. It's running right now. My hand's on the steering wheel. It's keeping me centered. We've tested this out before in the Disney IONIQ 5 and performs about as well as like a lot of these other systems do. And of course, this is a very straight road, so relatively easy for it to handle something like this. It's actually really windy. You can see potentially some of the windmills over in the distance. So I can feel the wind like trying to blow the car, and the car is steering to keep us centered in the road. Overall, again, a lot of these systems are performing pretty similarly on the highway. Automatic windshield wipers going real quick. But yeah, so it's sort of like I like all of them. They all do pretty well in this type of situation. Where the differences are like when we actually get into traffic, and I don't think we're going to have any like traffic situations, as well as like inclement weather, curvier roads, that type of thing. So we may not have the opportunity to test that out, but overall, fairly good for what most people will want to use this for. It looks like we're going right into some of the rain now, so this will be interesting for driving. And then we'll continue. Okay. They programmed in our route, so I'm not exactly sure where we're going, but I know we're going sort of out, and then we're going to go into the mountains, and we'll like connect with you again when we get into some more fun roads.
I do have some questions though.
It is handling this curve.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, and
it's a pretty good curve.
I like that I can see the curve in the heads-up display, which I know you guys won't be able to see, but it's showing me that I'm curving around, and it identifies the car in front of me. And I've said this before with their graphics that they use. the cars aren't cars; they're like soap bars. If that makes any
Say
sense,
that again.
it's like literally like a white rectangle
A rounded rectangle.
that's rounded. Yeah, so it looks like a bar of soap to me.
That was the question that I was going to ask you is what's a heads-up display like with the ADAS?
Whoa. So it's showing me like centered in a lane. By the way, I did the lane change there, and it was doing the lane change for me, I believe. Maybe I was wrong. Let me try this again. But it felt like it wasn't stopping the lane change. So like, let's try this again. We're on a straight road here. I'll wait till I get past him. I'm going to tap the blinker. Nope. Yeah, so it didn't do the lane change for me. That was just me drifting with it because I had my hand resting on the steering wheel. Let me, like at one of our stops, I'll double check that because I think it does do some lane change, like assist, I guess it is. But otherwise, yeah, we're everything's good right here. Did you have any other questions before we go?
I do not.
Okay.
Continue.
So before we get to the exciting road, we're actually on I-10. So I figured we would do another little bit right here just to show what it's like to be on the freeway. Driver's assist still active, but we're doing 70-ish miles an hour, which is the speed limit. And one of the things that we always like to check out is like the noise. I do hear some wind noise, but like I said, it's a really windy day. Seems like we're weaving a little bit, but like I said, we're getting buffeted a lot by the wind. Even if I were driving, I would, be fighting the wind a little bit. So I don't see that as like a negative, but sound levels, I think is pretty good in here.
It is pretty good. It's hard to tell with the wind as it is. But of course, with any EV, it's a quiet base. Like it starts really quiet compared to an ICE vehicle. So it's still a quiet cabin.
Yeah, and we're also listening for like some of the road noise, and you can tell the pavement's just a little bit wet. We slowed down with traffic. We're doing like 64 now. But yeah, I would say this is fairly quiet. It's not like a super quiet interior compared to some very high level like EQS, Mercedes. But very much on par with everything else in its class. I think a very good sound deadening, like that truck going by us, like I don't hear the rumblings. And we do a lot of noise cancellation when we make these videos, so you're not getting the true sense, but we're going to turn off noise canceling here. I'll put my hand back on the steering wheel. It is a hands-on system. But this segment here has no sound canceling. Whoever's editing this, remember to turn off sound canceling.
And let's do silence as well. Well,
that's noisy.
That's very loud. Okay, now.
Now we're back on? Oh.
No, now we're like off, but not being influenced by a loud truck. Okay. So now you know. That's something that we actually did in another video recently, and we're going to try to remember to do that more for you guys because the noise canceling on our software is really good and our mics and stuff. So
and really what I'm looking for is do we have to like raise our voices to talk when we're doing like a 70 mile per hour freeway drive, because that can be tiresome. Like after a few hours on a road trip and you always have to raise your voice to have a conversation. This is very much, we're able to keep our normal voices. So that's a win for me. But freeway driving is sort of like the dull part of pretty much everybody's drive, I think. So this is an exciting segment. I would just say like the driver's assist is making things easy, very comfortable driving position, able to really adjust the seating position just the way I want versus the way Liv likes. So overall, definitely a thumbs up for the highway driving segment.
We're going to kick off the windy portion of this with me showing you the map. It's really windy looking. Can you see the route that they picked out for us?
I love it.
So yeah, I was going to say Patrick is in for a fun drive.
Except that it's wet.
Yes, there's that. And hopefully you guys can see kind of well. It looks pretty good. We actually upgraded our camera, both our cameras just before this. So hopefully you have a really good view. But how's it handling so far?
Really nice. Like we have been in the IONIQ 5 previously, but not on a curvy road. We've taken like some of the other eGMP, like the GV60 and the EV6 on some curvy roads, but not this. And one of the things, you know, the wheelbase being so long can help with like stability and, you know, ride comfort and a lot more interior space. But for nimbleness, it can hurt. But I don't feel like it's not nimble. This feels very nimble. This is not, of course, the N, which I know a lot of people are like, that's the one I really want. But it's still good power through here. You know, I'm not going to go too crazy. I generally don't go crazy. So, but just sort of like what you'd want to do on like have a nice, fun weekend drive. Not going to push it at all, especially with the wet conditions. And a little bit unfamiliar with the car. So, oh wow, should we pull over?
Ooh, yeah, if we can. Woo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna have to pull over and take some shots here.
It's worth getting
even
wet
though
for
it's
this.
raining. So let's pause the video. We're gonna take some beauty shots,
Woo.
and then we'll get back on the road.
Well, that was gorgeous.
It's cold. We're in Palm Springs and it's cold.
Yeah,
well, it was raining too.
It says 65 degrees. It doesn't feel 65.
Yeah, well, it's windy in the rain.
Yeah.
Some really nice shots that maybe were popping up now. But
worth it.
There was a rainbow behind the car.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we'll see if that came out. I was just sort of rushing.
This looks so cool. Wow. Yeah, as the glasses wearer, I don't mind making you go out.
Yeah, that's why I was like, you can sit here. I'm going to get some of those beauty shots. And I forget what I was saying. Oh, I was saying that like it still is feeling really nimble even with the long wheelbase. Ooh, there's some little slippage right there.
Woo! Right where there was no guardrail.
Yeah.
That's lovely. That's why you take it easy and carefully. I will say this really reminds me of Lookout Mountain in Colorado. Doesn't it remind you of it? It's actually more curvy.
Yeah, way more curvy.
Yeah. But the interesting thing with Lookout is, and some of the curvy roads in Colorado, is that they're always busy. So it's kind of hard to go and just sort of play. But I guess because this is a weekday, this has been quite chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh, if it would just be dry.
If it was just dry, yeah.
That's okay. We don't need to do that.
And how do you think it's performing with the moisture on the road?
You know, I need to look. I think we have like 900 miles on these tires. So I was wondering if it was like a little bit of the new tires, but it doesn't feel like slippery or anything. We're at 3,000 feet of elevation. But I just don't want to mess around with that right now.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
But we're getting up into like the clouds almost.
And it's windy.
Very, very windy. There's a lot of windmills in this area as well, for obvious reasons. But yeah, the main thing that I'm looking for is like, how is it tracking steering? And how is it handling, like when I want to give it power? And it's like very nicely controlled with the steering as well as the power inputs. And I normally will want one pedal mode on, and I forgot to turn it on both times. So I'm just without it. I can adjust here with the paddles, but
yeah, because you would have had to turn it back on after you took photos, huh?
Yeah, I got it on a little bit now. Yeah, it's fine though.
That's annoying, but the fact that it's so easy to do, like it's not a button, it's just a paddle.
Yeah, so it's sort of like
Nice.
the con is like it doesn't remember, but the pro is that it makes it very easy to do. Gosh, I want to pull over on all of these and just take photos and videos. But yeah, and I think it's something that, you know, especially like, you know, if you're not in the car a lot, it could be quite an annoyance. But I think it's something you probably become used to, but you would probably still prefer to have the option of just keeping that setting there.
Or also, what if you're a gig worker and you're doing stuff like Uber Eats or DoorDash and you're in and out of your car? Yeah. If you're in that situation, because I think a lot of people do that, stuff like that, let us know, because I feel like that would be the use case where you would really, really, really want to set your profile. You do it twice a day, like when you drive to work and back, whatever. Not that big of a deal,
Yeah.
but if it's like 8 times a day,
Yeah, that's true. Because
ooh.
like, you know, or like going on a road trip, you turn it on, and then for like the next 3 hours, it's on, and you don't think about it. Then you stop and you get back in and you turn it back on. But if you're doing that like 10 times a day, you're probably quite annoyed. But yeah, the dynamics in this are really good. It isn't the end. It isn't powerful like the end, but this is powerful enough. You know, if you're looking for something performance, you can get that in this Ioniq line. Now, one of the things I didn't realize until they were explaining, because I know like the Ioniq 5N still has the CCS port. All the other Ioniq 5s have the NACS port now. And I was wondering why that is. So the Ioniq 5N is still being made in South Korea. All the other Ioniq 5s now are made in Georgia. So that's part of it is like those have been refreshed. They have the new port. And they did say at some point they expect the Ioniq 5N to get the NACS port as it gets refreshed.
Yeah, they said whenever the next refresh is, it will get the NACS port. Yeah.
So who knows when that'll be, but either way, and this is something that across the range of non-Teslas is like, whether it has the CCS port or the NACS port, I think we're going to be in the adapter transition phase. So you'll either have a Tesla adapter or you'll have a CCS adapter. So the Ioniq 5 comes with the NACS port and a CCS adapter. Like the 2025 Mach-E, it's like you get the still get the CCS port, but you get a NACS adapter. So
either way, you're probably going to have an adapter.
Yeah, it's going to be using adapters for a while. And a lot of Tesla owners that we know have a CCS adapter. And the reason that they choose to use it often is literally just either, you know, there's not a Tesla supercharger around, which is very, you know, rare compared to CCS. But, you know, there are times when the CCS chargers are cheaper than the Tesla superchargers. So in any case, I don't think it's that big of a deal to use an adapter. If that's something that you're concerned about and you're, you know, like a lot of people are excited to have NACS because they're like, nah, I'll never have to worry about an adapter. You probably still will, but whatever the situation is, like if you have a 2024 Ioniq 5 and you're, you know, going to get one of their free adapters when they come out in March, adapters aren't that big of a deal. It literally takes like an extra 5 seconds. I don't think it's a big a deal at all. We've been using a NACS adapter for almost a year now, and it hasn't really inconvenienced us at all. So if that's one of your hesitations in getting any EV, just I wouldn't even give it really much of a thought. But if that 5 seconds is that big of an annoyance to you, like the one pedal thing, that's something that's your decision, your choice.
Yeah, but I think both of us, I'll speak for both of us,
there we go,
like having all options. So just having the adapter, whether you have native NACS or not, is nice, because then you just get the options. You know, you get all the options. There might be a CCS charging station that's closer to the restaurant that you want to eat at. So it's nice to have options.
And they said, now here's the other thing is like, by the way, they are giving a free ChargePoint home charger for 2025 Ioniq 5 buyers. So, you know, again, we just did a video on whether or not you should buy an EV. Hopefully you have EV charging at home. Otherwise, you need to like seriously think if you should get an EV, because using the public charging infrastructure can be a challenge if you have to rely on it week in and week out. But if you do have a place where you can put a home charger in, they're giving you the home charger. So that's awesome. And if you don't want the home charger, if you can't use it, or if you already have one, they'll give you $400 in ChargePoint credits, which is nice to have. Although we very rarely use the ChargePoint network. We find them to be oftentimes less reliable. But like at Disneyland, for example, they have charging there, so we could just use it all the time there. And
we could have charging at Disney.
We'd go through it. It's like 31 cents per kilowatt hour, so that would last maybe, let's see, like maybe 20 charges, 5 charges. No, 20 charges. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's
we
a
don't
lot of
charge.
Disney.
We don't charge like completely full at Disney.
Now, with the home charger that they provide, the charge point, you do have to pay for. Look at those people taking a good shot. That's a good sign. We should pull over there.
I'm like, we may have
Should
to
we pull over here? No. Yes.
This one isn't as nice.
Not as nice. Well, maybe. So, by the way, you do have to pay for the installation yourself. They have a company that they work with. This is not as pretty.
Nah,
Yeah,
we'll
keep on. They have a company that they work with. I can't remember the name, but we'll put up all the details to help you find a good installer, but you are responsible for those costs. So you do get a charger, but you have to install it yourself. If you're not aware, previous model years got 3 years, right? Hyundai IONIQ 5s, they got the 3 years.
3 years, I can't remember.
2 or 3 years free charging with Electrify America, which sounds amazing. That sounds really cool. Like, what, free charging? But then you're entirely dependent on public charging. Of course, you could still charge at home, but I feel like it sort of heavily incentivized you to want to, like, you know, cultivate your schedule around public charging. So you'll have to let us know what you feel. Is it better to have a whole bunch of free public charging included with your purchase, or to have assistance with a home charging installation, or the $400 of charge point credits, which is much less than 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what dollar value you get from 3 years, but I think it's way more than 400.
Oh yeah, you can definitely get it up there.
Yeah.
And by the way, you know, I got my one pedal on, and I'm really liking it. It does a very good. So like if I let off, it isn't. Sometimes like when these cars they do the one pedal, it's like when you let off, it's like,
yeah.
This rolls into the regen. So even, you know, now like going slightly uphill, you can't really tell, but if I let off, it starts putting it on, but it isn't like this, like slamming on the brakes with it. So it rolls into it really nice. And then the same thing, like with the acceleration, let me get this little bit of a stretch here. It rolls into the acceleration very nice and easy to control as we're going on these curves. Like I find it just like the tuning of the pedal feel is just excellent in all the eGMP cars, including acceleration and regen. Really, really, really like it.
I think you used the right wording, because I was trying to describe that when I was driving. Like the brake and the pedal feels like well mapped, and that you roll into it, and it's not sudden.
Okay. Well, we've given you a bit of the curvy mountain road. We're going to continue driving. See anything else, or we think of anything else, we'll pick it back up.
Ooh.
Did not think I would be doing launches in ice/snow. But yeah, we found a little bit of a dusting of ice and snow.
It might be more further up, because we saw a Jeep come by that was like fully covered.
Yeah.
Too. This is not what we would have expected from Palm Springs, but we're getting a really interesting, fully diverse test of the 2025 IONIQ 5. This is crazy. We've gone from every climate, every kind of weather.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. One really cool thing with the 2025, you guys can't see this. Oh, wrong one. Look at that. I'm using this knob here. That's the rear windshield wiper that comes on the 2025. So super cool to have that, because there's no way I could see out the back window or the rear view mirror without doing that, without being able to wipe the rear window. So really happy that they've added that. But just amazed that there's a dusting of snow. I know this isn't much if you're from other areas. We used to live in Colorado, where we know there, you get tons of snow, but
it's icy enough conditions that this is happening. The road is very slushy and wet, so that definitely changes the driving experience. How does it feel?
I mean, it's really just wet pavement for the most part. Taking off right back there, I was it was just like wet slush, but no traction issues. This does have like a snow mode that you can go into, but it's not really meant for this. It's really meant for like actual snow on the road. But
Wow.
Yeah, they have the plows out and everything. Interesting.
Oh, and look how icy it is. Hopefully you guys can see it. They're like driveways that are full ice. Oh,
I thought we were going down and warmer, but
yeah.
sorry for the side distraction. But this is a good point to talk about, EVs in the snow. If you're not familiar, if you're looking at a IONIQ 5 as your first EV, they do very, very well in the snow. Part of it is all-wheel drive, the low weight. The battery is underneath the car, basically. And I love how we got like sun and snow. But anyways, EVs do great driving-wise for the most part in the snow. And, this is just barely testing it out. But if you live in a cold climate, the biggest concern that everybody talks about is with range in the winter with EVs. Now, here's the main thing is like, if your car has, well over 200 miles of range and you're driving maybe, actually, I'll go with the stat. Like we have a Mach-E, they say the average Mach-E owner drives 66 miles a day. So let's say you're driving 70 miles on your average day. Doesn't really matter if you lose half of your range and you have over 200, you're still fine. More than likely, you may lose like 20% of your range on real cold days. Maybe a little bit more, maybe less, depending on how you operate your EV. So don't really fret too much about losing that range. Now, when you're on a road trip, that can affect like how far you can go from station to station and things like that. So that,
and if you have a long commute, that's certainly something to be aware of. And it's just something to be aware of anyways, because sometimes it does surprise people when they get an EV and they're in a cold climate. There are ways that you can combat that. We have some videos on that, and we have videos coming on that. Don't drive too fast. Precondition your car. That's about it. Don't have a lead foot.
And everybody wants to talk about like the range loss of EVs, but again, they do very well handling in the cold and icy conditions. But the other huge advantage that like people don't necessarily talk about is that you can remote start or precondition your EV, even in a garage or even sitting outside. It's preferable if you do it while it's plugged in, so you're not using your battery or using like your house energy to precondition or warm up the car. But think about that, like, you may lose a little bit of range by having an EV or whatever, but wouldn't it be nice, like every morning you got to get in the car at 6:30 in the morning to head to work, and it's nice and toasty when it's 5 degrees outside. And I know like in Colorado, people put remote starters on their gas cars, but it's actually illegal, and you'll get a ticket if the cops catch you doing that. And the reason is that they have so many cars that are stolen because of that, because like the thieves they basically know your car's sitting there with the key in the ignition, so that's why they give out tickets. So technically that's illegal. But with the EV, it's like you can do that every day. You can, like even if you're like at work and you get off work and it's like, it's like 20 degrees outside, 10 minutes before you leave, you just turn the car on and it can get it to the right temperature. And of course the opposite in the summer, but that's like, people worry about EVs in the winter. I think the pros outweigh the cons.
Indeed. And so, by the way, worrying about range, the IONIQ 5, the 2025s, across the board got more range. The range increased, and we'll put up all the stats so you can have them. And of course, you're on the eGMP 800 volt platform, so you get super fast charging. If you have watched any of Tom Malagny's videos, if you're interested in like the nitty gritty on charging, then you might know that the 800 volt, the eGMP vehicles weren't charging necessarily that well at superchargers. Now with the native NACs built into this, it's much better. So I think it's a max 250 kilowatt on the NAC.
So really it's like, how fast does it do 10 to 80?
About 30 minutes.
The battery is slightly bigger. So like on a fast CCS charger, this will do 10 to 80 in 20 minutes. It used to be 18, but because the battery's bigger, you're putting more energy in. So it's about 20 minutes. On a supercharger, it's 30 minutes, which isn't, like groundbreaking, but it's a lot faster than, it's actually faster than a Tesla Model Y, which is right in front of us. On a supercharger, it's way faster than a Mach-E on a supercharger. Well, not, I wouldn't say way faster. I think it's like a Mach-E will be
5 minutes faster, 6 minutes
about
faster.
6 or 7 minutes faster. But I mean, it's good. It's good, and there's so much flexibility in having the supercharger access with that NACS port. And we did ask, or somebody else asked actually, and it was like, well, will it charge any slower by using the adapter on like an EA 350? And they said no, the adapter will not limit the speed. And it actually, the 2025 will charge slightly faster now on a 350 Electrify America super DC fast charger, even with the adapter. So
you're getting the best of a lot of worlds with this.
Well, now we're back to driving very slow behind other people. So let's end this part and find something else neat. Well, we're headed back down into Palm Springs, got back into sunny weather. The temperature was down, of course, low 30s. Now we're like in 57, but we're having a little bit more fun. This is like a nice downhill with some curvy roads, but not like super sharp. I mean, 40 mile per hour recommended to handle these, but it's handling it extremely well for not the end. Like everybody's like, oh, you got to have the end, but it's like, this has just been really fantastic and fun.
And we haven't driven the N actually at all, but we also haven't taken an IONIQ 5 on roads like this. And I'm really surprised. That's why we started filming, because we saw it coming up the curves. It's been going a little while, and we're both like, it's cool. We'll just like see the vibe and see how it's going. And it's like, this is really impressive.
And now I'm catching up to somebody. So. Just want to give you a little bit of an update about that. It's like we've been going through some curvy roads for quite a bit, and we wanted to film just so much so that it was impressive and doing such a great job. Power, balance, control, braking, like I said before. So we had a lot of this, and it's been a lot of fun. Now we're behind somebody. Not that they're going super slow, but not necessarily reaching the speed limit, we'll say.
Slower.
Yeah.
And now as the passenger, it's not heavy bolstering on the seats, but it's good enough. It really does feel good enough for this kind of ripping around. And maybe you can tell on the camera as it cuts one of us out or the other one, and it stabilizes, you can sort of tell how much we're curving. But how does it feel gripping? Because it feels to me like it's gripping the road really well.
Like I'm saying, it just tracks really well. And yeah, the bolstering in the seats isn't like super bolstered like a performance vehicle, but it's just enough for the type of extra fun that you want to have, on a road like this. I thought that was a cop like tucked out of the way, but it's just somebody sitting over there. Yeah, I think a lot of people will be really happy with the way this handles, and the amount of power, even though again it's not the end, going up and over the the other side of the mountain. Like it had decent amount of power, and just applies it very well. I'd be really happy in 99% of the situations with this. So if you're that 1% or maybe 5% that wants more, then you still have the N as an option, which is what I think is fantastic about the IONIQ range. Is like you can go with the rear wheel drive, which is now up to 318 miles of range, if you're not concerned at all about performance. But then if you want all-wheel drive, not as concerned about range, this is still up there. I think it's 290, I believe. I'm not sure. So still up there in range. And then, of course, if you want performance, you have the N. If you want a little bit of off-road, we have the XRT, which we haven't driven yet, but we're going to go drive.
This has been a crazy fun day spending time with the 2025 Hyundai IONIQ 5 Limited, as well as XRT. If you want to hear all about the XRT, you're going to have to check that video. But really, I'm just enamored with digital teal. Obviously, you get the 2 new colorways. With,
this is the cyber gray.
Cyber gray, and you get a blue and a red now as well. So you have to let us know what your favorite color is.
And the blue and the red are exclusive to the XRT this year.
That's right.
You forgot to say that in the other video.
I forgot to say that.
It's a crazy day. We have crazy weather like rain, snow, fog, sun. We're in short sleeves now, but it's been a fun day. I really like the improvements to the IONIQ 5 for 2025. I think the NAX port and the rear windshield wiper, which we started this video with, those are the 2 biggest things, but like the addition of the buttons inside, I think it all just like minor refinements. And I think what it really shows too is that they are listening to their customers. I think Ford is doing a good job of that. Hyundai's doing a good job of that. It's really nice to see when companies are listening to their customers and making improvements based off of that. They're not huge, maybe, you know, like it doesn't look radically different, but it adds up to a lot better vehicle. So really excited to see them out on the road.
I think it's kind of huge though. The fact that this is the first vehicle, non-Tesla vehicle to have the NAX port is really big. They really listen to you guys about the rear windshield wiper. We know a lot of you in snowy climates or whatever really, really need that. So let us know what you want to see next. What would you like to see? What is it missing? What's your dream? What's your bucket list? Because the automakers, they want you to buy their car. Okay, so they want to make the best car for you. Let us know what you think about the changes as well. Do you like the NAX port? Do you not like the NAX port?
Yeah, I've heard like with the Mach-E, some people are like, I'm not buying it until it has an NAX port. And then I heard some other people literally say like, when it gets an NAX port, it's off my list because they don't want anything to do with NAX or, well, just say Tesla. But anyways, we should wrap up this video, go have dinner, relax. It's been a long, busy day. So thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you to everybody that shared this or commented or whatever. Thank you, of course, to our Patreon members. We have the Unbridled, the Engaged, and the Whisper. And there's a loud vehicle. Hopefully you're not hearing that. But we also have YouTube memberships. Thank you to them as well. Thank you to everybody subscribing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's a lot. By the way, we said in the other video, we didn't say in this video,
what?
This is actually Valentine's Day. So it's really cool that we got to do this on Valentine's Day. It's a lot of work, but we got to do it with each other. Am I your Valentine?
You are my Valentine.
Okay, each other's Valentine.
Although actually the XRT in digital teal might be my actual Valentine. I'm sorry. Come back here. Oh, I guess I have to finish the video all on my own. So on that note, come back here, Valentine. Thank you so much for joining us for this video in which we checked out the brand new 2025 Hyundai IONIQ 5 in limited trim. Thank you for joining us for a crazy drive where we took every climate imaginable. And just remember that whatever you drive, whether it has a NAX port or not, enjoy the ride. Bye.